The screams in the jungle was hot, wet, and thick with green leaves. Connor walked carefully, pushing the branches aside. He had come to this alien world to explore and study plants, but today something felt wrong. The sky was darker than usual, and the air smelled of smoke. Then he heard a scream, not just a noise, but a scream full of pain and fear. It echoed through the trees like a cry from a nightmare. Connor froze. He looked around. No one else was with him. He was supposed to stay close to the camp, but that scream changed everything. It wasn't human, but it wasn't an animal either. It was something different, something alive, something begging for help. He took a breath and moved toward the sound. The path was rough. Sharp rocks and wet roots made it hard to walk. Strange plants brushed against his arms, and glowing insects danced in the air. The screams came again. This time weaker, slower, like whoever was screaming was losing their strength. Connor moved faster. After nearly 20 minutes, he reached the edge of a cliff. He crouched low and looked down. His eyes widened. Below him, in a clearing surrounded by huge stone statues, a group of tribal aliens stood in a circle. They had painted skin, large feathers, and strange weapons. They danced around a fire, shouting words he couldn't understand. But what made his heart stop was what was tied above the fire dot. It was a girl, an alien girl. Her skin was pale blue, her body thin and weak. She was tied to a wooden pole hanging over the flames. Her head hung low and her skin looked burned in places. She didn't scream now, but she still moved a little, just enough to show she was alive. Connor's stomach turned. What kind of people burn someone alive? He grabbed his binoculars and looked closer. The girl had marks on her arms. They looked like tattoos, but they glowed softly. Her eyes opened for a second, and he saw something that broke him: fear and pain. Yes, but also hope. She was still hoping someone would help. Connor backed away slowly. His mind raced. He couldn't just leave her, but going down there would be dangerous. There were at least 10 of those tribal aliens. Maybe more. He looked at his pack. He had a smoke grenade, a stun flare, and his pulse pistol. Not much, but maybe just enough. He whispered to himself, "You can't let her die like that." His hand shook a little as he planned the way down. He'd sneak through the trees, throw the smoke to confuse them, grab the girl, and run. Simple in his head, but it could get him killed. Still, he knew he couldn't just walk away. Then something strange happened. He heard a voice, soft, broken, barely a whisper. "Help. Please." Connor turned sharply. The girl had looked up. Her lips moved again, but he couldn't hear more. Somehow, even with the fire below her and the aliens shouting, her voice had reached him. He didn't know how. Maybe it was in his head. Maybe it was real. But it didn't matter. That was all he needed. Connor stood. No more fear, no more waiting. He looked at the fire again, then down at his weapon. He would fight if he had to. But he would save her, even if it cost him everything. Screams were gone now, but something deeper had started inside him, a silent promise that he would not let her burn. He was just a human in a strange world, but sometimes that was enough. He took one last breath, checked his gear, and began moving through the shadows, because tonight, the jungle would see what a human could do when someone needed saving. The fire rescue. Connor didn't think. His body moved before his mind could warn him. Smoke grenade in one hand, pulse pistol in the other, he slipped down through the thick trees like a shadow. The tribal aliens danced louder now, banging drums made of bone and skin. Their fire cracked and roared beneath the girl, who hung limp, her breath slow but steady. Time was running out. He reached the edge of the clearing and threw the smoke grenade. It exploded with a hiss, filling the air with thick white clouds. Shouts rang out. Confusion spread. The tribal aliens screamed in their strange language, waving their weapons wildly. Connor ran forward, heart pounding like thunder. He jumped over a fallen log, dodged a blade, and reached the wooden post. The girl opened her eyes, barely able to lift her head. "I got you," Connor whispered. He cut the ropes fast. Her body dropped into his arms, weightless like a bird. Her skin was hot and trembling, but she clung to him with surprising strength. For a moment, their eyes met. Something passed between them. Not words, not thoughts. Just something deep and powerful. She wasn't just scared. She had trusted him the moment she saw him. Connor turned and ran. Through the smoke, through the chaos, through sharp branches that cut his skin. Behind him, the tribal aliens roared in anger. Spears flew past. One grazed his shoulder, but he didn't stop. He held the girl tight, her thin arms wrapped around his neck. By the time he reached the jungle again, the smoke had cleared. But the fire behind him had lit up the sky. He didn't stop to look back. He ran until his lungs ached. Finally, he found shelter in a thick patch of trees where the firelight couldn't reach. He dropped to his knees and gently laid the girl down. She coughed weakly. Her skin was cracked and glowing with strange blue lines that pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat under her skin. Connor reached into his bag and poured water into a small cup, holding it to her lips. She drank slowly, carefully. Then she spoke. "You shouldn't have done that." Her voice was soft but clear. He blinked in surprise. "I couldn't let you burn." "You touched me," she said, looking at her arms. "Now the bond is sealed." "What bond?" he asked, confused. She looked at him, her eyes glowing faintly. "I am not just a girl. I carry the ancient mark, my blood. My spirit is part of something old, something they worship. They tried to take it. Now, you've taken it instead." Connor felt a chill run down his spine. "I was just trying to save you." "And now," she whispered, "they'll come for you too." The jungle was silent, too silent. No insects, no birds, just heavy air and the sound of distant drums. Starting again, but slower, deeper, like something was waking. Connor looked around, then back at her. "What's your name?" "Vexa," she said. He nodded. "I'm Connor." Vexa reached out and touched his hand. "You are not one of them." "But they won't care. They'll hunt you now, like they hunted me." He looked up at the sky. The stars were hidden behind clouds of smoke. But he knew this planet had just changed for him forever. He hadn't just saved a life. He had stepped into something ancient and dangerous. And now there was no going back. Asterisk the forbidden mark. The night pressed heavy around them. Connor sat beside Vexa, watching the soft blue patterns on her skin glow like rivers of light. She lay on the forest floor, weak but breathing better. Yet, it wasn't her wounds that worried him, it was the strange silence that followed them. After the rescue, the jungle, once alive with noise, had gone still. It felt like the whole planet was holding its breath. Vexa opened her eyes slowly. "It has begun," she said. "What has?" Connor asked, voice low. "The bond," she whispered. "When you pulled me from the fire, you changed the path of fate." He shook his head. "I didn't mean to change anything. I just wanted to help." She looked at him with something like sadness in her glowing eyes. "I was not meant to be touched. Not during the ritual. Not by anyone outside the bloodline. But now my power sees you." Connor frowned. "What power? What ritual?" Vexa sat up with effort. Her voice was thin, but serious. "I was not just a girl tied to the fire. I am a vessel of the ancient blood. The tribes believe if they consume me during transformation, they gain the strength of the ancestors. But if I am rescued during the rite, the bond transfers." Connor stared. "Wait, Are you saying I took your place? No, she said softly. You became my guardian. My fate is now tied to yours. My power responds to you. My enemies now hunt you. He felt a weight settle in his chest. Great, so saving you made me the target? Vexa didn't smile. It made you part of something bigger than either of us. She lifted her arm, showing him the glowing lines that now moved with strange patterns faster than before. Then she pointed to his wrist. At first, Connor saw nothing. But under the light of her glow, a faint blue symbol shimmered on his skin. His breath caught. What the hell? It's the mark, she said. The jungle sees you now. You are part of the ritual. You are bound to me. Connor stood up and backed away. You've got to be kidding me. I didn't ask for this. No one does, she replied calmly. But now you are the only one who can protect me. And if I die, so do you. Connor's heart pounded. This was supposed to be a mission about plants, research, not alien curses and tribal gods. He wiped sweat from his face and looked into the trees. The silence wasn't just creepy. It was warning them. Then came the sound, not drums, not shouting. Something worse. A low, distant humming, like a beast breathing in its sleep. Trees creaked. Leaves trembled. Vexa's eyes widened. They're coming, she whispered. Connor pulled out his pulse pistol. Who? Not the ones from the fire. Worse, the Bone Walkers. The tribe that only comes when a bond is broken. Or changed. They believe I am stolen. And you are the thief. He looked at her. So how do we stop them? She touched his chest lightly. You don't. You run. You hide. And if they catch us, you'll wish you burned me instead. The words sent a chill down his spine. He didn't know who these Bone Walkers were, but something told him they weren't going to knock politely. He grabbed his bag and helped Vexa stand. Her legs shook, but she leaned on him. The blue lights on both their bodies pulsed like a warning beacon. Somewhere far behind them, a horn blew deep, loud, and hollow. The kind of sound that made the ground shake. Connor looked down at the strange mark glowing on his arm. He didn't know where they would go next. But he knew one thing clearly now. He hadn't just followed the screams. He had stepped into a war. The hunt begins. The jungle was no longer just a place. It had become a living trap. Every leaf, every shadow felt like it was watching them. Connor moved quickly, holding Vexa close, her body still weak, her skin glowing with symbols that pulsed like quiet thunder. His boots splashed through mud and roots as they climbed deeper into the ancient forest. They had escaped the fire. But the real danger was just beginning. Vexa clutched his shoulder. We need the old path, she whispered. The one hidden before the tribes took power. It will lead us to the ruins, Connor frowned. Ruins? What ruins? She leaned her head against his neck. Where the first bonding began, where blood, breath, and spirit were joined. If we don't reach it, they will tear you apart too, unmark you, and they will chain me again. Thunder cracked in the distance, but there was no rain. Just the low growl of something ancient, something hungry. They moved for hours, deeper into the vines and mist. Strange birds flew overhead with bone-colored wings. Giant roots covered what looked like stairs carved into stone. And there, buried, beneath moss and thyme, stood a broken gate made of black stone, cracked down the middle. This is it, Vexa said. The ruins of the first claim. They slipped inside. The air changed instantly, cool, still, and heavy with forgotten power. Statues lined the walls, each one carved in the shape of different alien beings. Some had wings, others claws. But all of them had one thing in common. They held one hand forward, and the other hand chained. Connor stepped carefully, his flashlight flickering. What is this place? Vexa sat on a stone bench, her glowing skin lighting up the carvings. This is where the first protectors were chosen. The ones like you. The ones who took the mark willingly to protect us. I didn't choose this, he muttered. She looked at him. You did the moment you ran into fire for someone you didn't know. Connor opened his mouth to argue, but stopped. Maybe. She was right, maybe deep down. He had chosen. A sudden cold wind rushed through the ruin. Vexa gasped. They've found us. Connor turned. A loud thump echoed, then another. Slow, heavy footsteps. The shadows at the door twisted, and out stepped something tall, wrapped in bones and ash-covered cloth. Its eyes were dark pits, its mouth sewn shut with metal wire. The Bone Walkers. Vexa whispered, fear in her voice for the first time. Behind it came more. Dozens, all silent, all watching. They didn't speak. They didn't scream. They only stared. And then they bowed. Connor froze. What are they doing? Vexa stood up, shaking. They see the bond is complete. They will not kill us yet. They will test us first. The floor beneath them glowed with ancient light. Symbols lit up under Connor's boots, spreading out in a circle. The biggest bone walker stepped forward and raised its hand. Vexa grabbed Connor's arm. This is the trial of worth. He blinked. Trial of what? Before she could answer, the circle flared and a wall of flame rose around them. The bone walkers stepped back into the shadows. A new figure stepped out of the fire. Massive armored, its face hidden behind a silver mask. It didn't speak. It didn't blink. Connor raised his pistol, but it melted in his hand. Vexa whispered, You can't win with weapons. You have to win with spirit. The masked figure lunged. Connor dodged, barely missing a blow that cracked the stone floor. This wasn't a fight of strength. It was a test of heart, of purpose. And Connor finally understood. This wasn't about saving Vexa anymore. This was about proving he was worthy to carry her fate. To stand between her and the world that wanted to burn her. He clenched his fists and stared into the masked figure's eyes. If this was the trial, he was ready, because even if he didn't understand the bond, he would never run from it. Asterisk blood and bond. Fire ring hissed and vanished. Smoke curled away, revealing Connor. Standing tall, chest heaving, sweat pouring down his face. The masked warrior lay at his feet, unmoving. He hadn't won with strength. He had let the warrior strike, but never broke, never gave in, never raised a weapon. He stood through every blow. And somehow, that was the answer the trial demanded. Silence filled the ruin. Then the bone walkers knelt. All of them. Connor didn't understand what had just happened, but Vexa did. She limped toward him, her eyes shining with awe and fear. She placed her fingers gently on his chest, where a fresh mark now glowed, an X of fire etched into his skin without pain or wound. You didn't just pass the trial, she whispered. You became something more. They call it fire claimed. It means you don't protect me anymore. Now we are one. Connor blinked. We're what? You're no longer just a protector. You're a part of the bloodline. My power is yours now. My curse is yours too. He tried to step back, but something held him, not her touch. Something inside. The bone walkers rose, still silent. One stepped forward and handed Connor a medallion carved from ancient bone. It looked like a claw wrapped around a small orb of glowing crystal. What is this? He asked. A claim token, Vexa said. It means you are bonded in the eyes of the tribes. But it also means the others, the wild tribes, the deep ones. They'll see you as a threat now, a thief of sacred power. Connor looked down at the girl. No, not just a girl anymore. Vexa was something ancient reborn. And now he was tied to her in a way he never asked for, never wanted. But it was too late to walk away. The bone walkers began to vanish, one by one, melting into the shadows as if they were never there. Vexa touched her own chest. The glow had faded from her skin, but something else had replaced it: calm, strength. A kind of peace that had never been there before. "You are the first outsider to survive the trial," she said. "They will talk about you in the jungle for 100 years. Connor shook his head. "I didn't come here to be a legend. I just wanted to save you." "And that," she replied, "is why they bowed." They stepped out of the ruins, but the jungle didn't welcome them this time. The air was sharp. The trees twisted differently. Strange lights floated between the branches. The jungle wasn't wild anymore, it was watching them. They walked for hours, deeper into unfamiliar terrain. The land rose into red cliffs and stone. Bridges. Vexa walked better now, though her steps were still soft, like she didn't want the world to notice her. But Connor noticed something else. She stayed close. Her hand brushed his often. She didn't speak much, but her presence felt different now, connected. That night, they found a small cave by a clear pool. Connor started a fire. Vexa sat beside him, her eyes reflecting the flames. "I was born in a cage," she said quietly, "fed lies. Taught to believe my life was only for others to use. But now, for the first time, I'm not afraid." He looked at her. "Because of me?" She nodded. "Because you didn't ask for anything. You just acted. And somehow, I don't feel alone anymore." He didn't reply. He didn't need to dot in the distance. The jungle let out a new sound. A howl not like an animal, not like a machine. It was a signal, a message. "They know," Vexa whispered. They felt the bond complete. "The jungle will rise against us now." Connor tossed another stick into the fire. "Let it come." She smiled, soft but proud. "You talk like a tribal." Now he smiled back. "Maybe I'm becoming one." And in that quiet cave, under the red moons of a world filled with enemies, a bond deeper than any magic was growing, one made not by fire, but by choice. Asterisk, the curse awakens. Connor dreamed of fire, of chains, of a voice calling his name from beneath. The earth. He woke with a gasp, the cave glowing faintly with blue light, not from the fire, but from Vexa. She stood near the pool, her feet bare, her hands trembling. Her body was changing. The glowing patterns on her skin were no longer just lines. They moved like living veins of light. Her eyes, once soft and blue, now shined like twin stars. "Vexa?" Connor asked. Rising slowly, she turned. "It's happening." "What is?" "The bond is growing. My power is no longer sleeping. It recognizes you now. And because of that, it's waking in me too. I feel everything." She stepped forward, and the cave responded. Stones shifted, the water rippled, and tiny insects hovered in still air, drawn to her glow. "I see your thoughts," she whispered, "your memories." "Your pain." Connor froze. "You mean you can read my mind?" "Not like words," she said softly. "More like feelings, echoes. The night your brother died. The way you carry guilt like armor. The silence you wear when you smile at others." His throat tightened. "Stop." "I can't," she said, stepping back. "The bond won't let me. And it's not just you. I feel everything now, the roots beneath us, the sky above. Every breath in this jungle is loud in my body." Her voice broke. "It's too much." Connor walked to her and took her hand. "Then we'll carry it together." A tear rolled down her cheek. "You don't understand. I'm not just a girl anymore. I'm a weapon, a message. And every tribe, every warlord, every cursed spirit in this jungle will now hunt us because they can feel what I've become." He didn't let go. "Then we fight." Vexa closed her eyes, breathing deeply. "There's something worse." When the bond awakened, it sent out a call, not a scream, not a cry, a pulse. Across the land, through the air, and something, answered. Before Connor could ask, the cave trembled. The pool rippled violently. The rock shook. And outside, a red light burned through the jungle trees. Vexa's eyes snapped open. They're here. They scrambled outside. The jungle sky had turned crimson. Thunder rolled across the horizon, but it wasn't thunder. It was engines, ships, not tribal, not wild. Black ships with no symbols, no lights. Silent but deadly. Connor's blood ran cold. That's not from this planet. No, Vexa said. Those are collectors. He looked at her. Who? They follow power across galaxies. They don't care about life, or tribes, or blood. They take what shines and leave ashes. One ship descended with a quiet hum, brushing the treetops. It hovered, then opened. Its underside like a blooming steel flower. Figures dropped from the sky, tall, silver-armored, faceless. One of them pointed directly at Vexa. Connor raised his pulse pistol. You'll have to go through me. The figures didn't move. Vexa stepped in front of him. No, I'll go. What? No. If I don't, she said, they'll burn everything. You, the forest, the tribes, this whole world. Connor clenched his fists. I didn't pull you from that fire just to watch you walk into another. One, she turned, glowing brighter than ever. Then don't let me go alone. The forest around them shifted. The ground split open where roots once were. Light rose from the soil. Connor looked down and saw the mark on his wrist burning again. But it didn't hurt. It pulsed in rhythm with Vex's glow. And suddenly, he knew he wasn't just bonded to her. He was becoming something else too. Chosen. And whatever was coming for her would have to face him, and the jungle wasn't silent anymore. It was roaring. Asterisk. The final choice. The jungle roared like a beast awakened. Trees bent as winds twisted through them, and the red glow in the sky grew brighter, spreading like fire across the heavens. The collector ship hovered silently above the clearing, casting a shadow that seemed to crush the world beneath it. The silver-armored soldiers stood still, waiting for the final moment, the moment she would surrender. But Vexa didn't move, and neither did Connor. He stood beside her, the glowing mark on his wrist pulsing in rhythm with hers. They were no longer separate, no longer savior and saved. They were one bond, one light, one danger the entire jungle feared. From the ship, a new figure stepped forward, taller than the others, wearing black and gold armor that shimmered with unnatural light. His face was hidden by a curved mask, but his voice was cold and sharp. Vexa of the ancient blood, he said. Your time has ended. Surrender yourself and break the bond. The human may live, you will be repurposed. Connor stepped forward, eyes blazing. You don't get to decide who she becomes. The collector tilted his head. You do not understand what you protect. That girl is not a person. She is a relic, a key, a living artifact meant to power our machines. You've broken protocol. You've broken the cycle. Connor raised his hand, and light surged from his wrist. The glowing mark burst like fire across his arm, rising into the air and connecting with Vexa's own. I didn't break anything, Connor said. I chose her. The collector moved like lightning. In a second, he was before them, blade drawn, slashing through the air, but he never reached them. The ground split open beneath their feet. Roots wrapped around their legs, not to trap, but to shield. Vines with ancient symbols glowed as they lifted Connor and Vexa high into the air. The jungle itself had chosen. Vexa's eyes glowed with golden light. Her voice changed deeper, fuller, like many voices speaking as one. This world is mine to protect. I was never meant to be a tool. I was meant to awaken. The collector swung his blade again, but this time the jungle struck back. A wall of light burst from the ground, throwing him backward. The other soldiers raised their weapons, but the trees themselves bent and slammed into them, swallowing them whole. Connor looked at Vexa. "Can you stop them?" She nodded. "With you, yes, but it will take all of me." He understood. She would burn like a star to protect this world and him. "No," he said suddenly. "There has to be another way." "There's not," she said, tears forming. "You saved me once. Now I save everything." She stepped forward. The sky cracked. Lightning of every color lit the jungle. Vexa raised her hands, and the bond mark on Connor's arm blazed until it hurt. She was drawing from him his will, his heart, his soul. She needed him to stand. He did. Together, they glowed like twin suns. The collector screamed something, but his voice was lost in the wind. Vexa looked at Connor one last time and smiled. "I was never afraid of dying," she whispered. "Only of dying alone." He gripped her hand. "You're not alone." The final light exploded from them like a tidal wave. When the sky cleared, the ship was gone. The jungle stood silent again, and in the center of the clearing was Connor alone but not empty. The mark was still on his wrist, and from the soil beside him, a single blue flower bloomed. He knelt, touching it gently. It pulsed once, softly, like a heartbeat. She was not gone. She had become part of the world she loved. And so, Connor walked forward, not as a hero, not as a warrior, but as the keeper of the bond, and wherever he went, the jungle whispered her name, Vexa.